My first date with Jen went really well. It was charming conversation over drinks, punctuated with a nice, somewhat dizzying kiss. And so I was excited about our second date, which we had planned to be, we would meet in the city, and we would get ice cream, which is cute. And then we would get on bikes and bike 40-some blocks to her house, where, in her words, we would just see what happens. So, good date, because it starts cute and cuddly and it ends with the vague suggestion of sex. So that's a good date. So I'm getting ready and I decide to put on my favorite pair of pants. It's a pair of corduroys. And I know some people don't like cords. I like them. I teach college to justify the amount of corduroy I own. Right? Yeah. So I decide corduroy pants, and I'm ready to go. I step outside, I'm going to catch the train, and I step into what is unmistakably soup. It is so humid, you need gills to breathe, and it's like a mist. And it's April. A couple of years ago in the Philly area, there was this absolutely like Old Testament, like angry God heat wave. And my brain says to me, it says we should probably go inside and change our pants. But I don't listen to sensible information, and so I said, fuck you, and I just ended up getting on the train. So we meet and we get ice cream and it's lovely, and she leads me to the bikes. She had left them there the night before. I never really knew the story with the bikes, but they were there. And I remember that I haven't been on a bike in 15 years. And the whole it's as easy as riding a bike thing is theoretical for me. So, but I decided, screw it, I'm gonna do it. So I get on the bike, and I'm on a mountain bike, and I'm biking. And for the first 10 minutes, I'm doing pretty good. Here's the thing. I'm an inside cat, and I don't like the sun. Honestly, big deal. I don't. It's a big, scary terror ball, and I don't like it. And so I stay inside when it's bright out and where it's dark. I have the vitamin D deficiency to prove it, and I'm not kidding. And so I'm kind of like a vampire, but not like one of those Twilight handsome vampires where sunlight bedazzles my skin and I'm handsome. I'm kind of like, well, I swell in the heat, so I'm like that pale vampire who dies in Blade. The one in the bed, and he like shines the flashlight on him and he's like, and dies. That's what I'm like. So we're riding, and for the first 10 minutes I'm doing good, not even breaking a sweat. And then, at minute 10, all of the sweat that I'm not sweating falls out of my face. And my legs decide to swell, well, I would say it's the size of sausages, but if they were giant mutant sausages, that would be my legs. And I really begin dying. And so I'm riding along, and Jen just disappears. She wants to show off, so she's gone. She's a blur on the horizon. And I begin the slow, protracted death of what is riding my bike. And so I'm pale, clearly, but I start to get blotchy, right? I start to bloom with like little red patches, and I'm wet. I'm really wet, and my legs are really wet, and there's this of the corduroy, and the only reason that my pants didn't explode into flame because the friction was because they were soaking up all of my body sweat. So I'm riding along, and I really look like a shelled lobster tail on a bike, basically. I'm just pale and wet and red in places. And we stop at a red light, and Jen stops, and she looks at me, and she goes, "Are you okay?" And I'm an idiot, so my response is, fine. But I'm so hot, I'm cold. So you know what I'm talking about. And so she decides, okay, well, she realizes I'm not going to say I need to stop, so she points to this house, this big Victorian house. We're in University City at this point, and there's an open house. And she says, why don't we go in, we'll pretend that we're going to buy it, right? And then you can get a glass of water. And I'm like, so we go in, and this chirpy, friendly little realtor lady in like a canary yellow blazer comes up, and she says, hi, I'm Bobby or Randy or something with an I. And I like, touch her in the neck. And I don't even talk to her. I just kind of leadenly like shove past her, and I just stomp into the kitchen. And I see the sink, and I'm looking at the sink, and I just at the sink. And I go and I turn it on, and I grab, it's got one of those like spray hoses, and I just grab the spray hose, and I just on my face, and I go, oh, wet. And I hear Jen in the background like, so how many bathrooms? And I'm just, oh, and I hear this from my left, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go over, and I look, and it's this yuppie couple, and they're looking at me stricken, because I'm this melting lobster man, and I look at them, and I'm still straining my head, and I turn and look at them, and I want to say something witty and clever, but I can only manage, it's hot out there. So, long story short, we get to Jen's house, and I plop on the bed, and she looks at me, and she says, and I'm like, you know, sex is not gonna happen. Literally not, right? And she looks at me, and she says, I think this is so sweet. I said, and she said, you did all that just to be with me. And I thought, you idiot. I just didn't want to die in the street. I wanted to die in a bed like a human and not like a dog. So she looks at me and she says, you know, you look really hot. Right? That's my sexy voice. You know, you look really hot. I had to get some ice cubes. She didn't have the baritone, she was not good. And while she's leaving the room, I'm imagining all this like disgusting, lethargic, you know, lovemaking we're going to make. Wasn't very good. And she stops at the door and she turns around and she looks at me and she says, I just have to ask you one question. Why the fuck didn't you wear shorts? That's because I hate them, but that's a different story. That's it. Thank you.